Good afternoon, people. Watch Woman 65. Lisa Boyce here. I just got this article off of RT, and I'm going to link it in the description box. First of all, let me make sure. Okay. It says a group that tracked protesters, listen to this, cell phones accuses them of spreading COVID-19 across the U.S. even if they didn't leave their cars. It says, wouldn't you know it, a Democrat-linked advocacy group is blaming the spread of COVID-19 on anti-lockdown protesters in the U.S. after tracking their cell phones cross-country. Despite the tempting partisan narrative, though many never left their cars, anti-lockdown demonstrators traveled hundreds of miles to attend protests, almost certainly spreading the coronavirus to places where infections were rare. According to the Committee to Protect Medicare, a supposedly nonpartisan group run by a former Democratic congressional candidate. The group provided a comprehensive analysis of smartphone location data from rallies in Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Colorado, and Florida to The Guardian on Monday. It says, while the Committee to Protect Medicare admitted it had no real evidence to support its claim that demonstrators were callously spreading the infection that has killed tens of thousands of people while paralyzing the world economy, it's hard to draw a straight line between devices, individuals, and those protests and cases, Executive Director Rob Davidson acknowledged. They insisted the demonstrators' behavior carries a high risk of infection. Really? Virus transmission at some of these demonstrations would have been next to impossible. However, since protesters remained in their cars, demonstrators at an operation, they call it an Operation Gridlock, protest in Denver in late April descended on the city in late April descended on the city in their vehicles, waving signs, flags, while deliberately snarling traffic as they demanded an end to Colorado Governor Jared Polis' stay-at-home order. While some left their cars to picket the Capitol building, photos of the event suggested that even the majority of the sign wavers maintained safe distances between each other. Now, I'm going to say this, and I might get a few people saying something to me about this. I don't wear a mask unless I'm somewhere where I'm supposed to wear a mask. I don't wear a mask out. And I'm going to get into that on another video. And I'm going to tell you why. The mask does not protect you from anything. Matter of fact, wearing a mask can make matters worse. They're not telling you that. I was looking for something about that. And basically, what this country has done, they've made this virus a political thing. They made the mask a political thing. They've made staying at home a political thing. They made it political. Now, these people were in their car. These are demonstrators who were in their car. But yet people are saying they somehow spreaded this virus. The demonstrators' phones were tracked by mobile advertising firm called VoteMap for 48 hours after they attended the anti-lockdown protests, revealing participants had in some cases traveled hundreds of miles, even crossed state lines. While data analysts took care to specify the location data had been taken only from apps in which the user had opted in to be tracked as part of the app's term of services. It's unlikely any of the protesters were aware that their locations were being tracked for use in a partisan smear campaign. VoteMap used anonymized data from hundreds of different apps to create its graphics. Many apps vary their authorization for use of location data deep in prohibitive lengthy terms of service. The Committee to Protect Medicare did not specify the dates of many of the demonstrations it tracked, other than the April 19th Denver protest, in which healthcare workers reportedly confronted the anti-lockdown demonstrators, and an April 30th protest in Lansing, Michigan that made international news after gun-towing demonstrators brought their weapons into the state capitol. I'm going to link this article in the description box, but I want to give you another article as well. And this is the reason why I don't wear a mask. I just don't. Now they're making it so where my husband can't work without wearing a mask. It's mandatory. This article says here, can wearing a mask for prolonged periods of time be detrimental to health? Retired neurosurgeon Dr. Russell Blaylock has highlighted a number of studies linking prolonged mask use to headaches, lower blood oxygen levels, which can weaken the immune system. Could the requirement to wear a mask in public to prevent the spread of the coronavirus be doing more harm than good to people's health? This retired surgeon believes so, pointing towards studies which found that wearing masks for prolonged periods of time can cause serious side effects. In an article published by Tenography, that's what it is. Tenography News, Dr. Blaylock wrote that the side effects from prolonged wearing of a face mask can vary from headaches to increased airway resistance, carbon dioxide accumulation to hypoxia, all the way to serious life-threatening complications. Well, that makes sense because if you have this mask on every day, instead of breathing out the carbon dioxide, you're going back into the mask and you're breathing it in again. So it makes perfect sense. The side effects vary depending on whether they are cloth or paper surgical masks or an N95 respirator mask. Because the N95, being a more effective filter, also limits breathing to a greater degree and is therefore more commonly associated with headaches, he reported. Now, when I was in the hospital, I had to wear a mask until they found out my test came back negative. That mask, I already was having a hard time breathing. That mask made it worse. A lot worse. He highlighted one study of 212 healthcare workers who were asked to report on the presence of headaches while using the N95 mask, including the duration of the headache, the type of headache, and whether they had pre-existing headaches. The study found that around a third of workers developed headaches when using the N95 mask. The majority had pre-existing headaches that were made worse by the use of the mask. And around 3 in 5 required pain medication to relieve the headache. And although tight straps or pressure from the mask were considered as potential cause, the evidence pointed to the headache being caused by reduced blood oxygenation or an increase in carbon dioxide in the blood. God didn't make you to wear a mask. Not for no prolonged period of time. It is known that the N95 mask, if worn for hours, can reduce blood oxygenation as much as 20%. He said this can lead to a loss of consciousness, as happened to the hapless fellow driving around alone in his car wearing an N95 mask, causing him to pass out and to crash his car and sustain injuries. This actually happened. I'm sure that we have had several cases of elderly individuals or any person with poor lung function passing out, hitting their head. This, of course, can lead to death. I'm going to link the article, the rest of the article. You can read the rest of this. But it is not a good idea to wear a mask all day long. It's just not. So I'm going to leave the article in the description box of both of these articles so you can read them. And like I said before, the recommendations for the people to follow are now becoming rules to follow. We are out of here so quick, it's not even funny. Because now, and I've said this before, it's beginning to look like a police state. That's what it's starting to look like. You are no longer required to work without a mask. And if you do, you will be sent home. And that was from my husband's job. It's getting down to a total police state. It's getting down to the beast system for real. So, look up and get ready to fly. Because we are getting ready to take off. I'll see you later. Thanks.